Oh yeah.
And what it's trying to tell you is sometimes you have to step back, right? Step back and observe yourself. Step back from yourself, look at yourself, observe yourself, right? Because, we get consumed with being the main character in our movie,
Right.
right? So we never get to think about our actions in a deep way. We seldom get to see our actions objectively,
Hmm.
right? It's constantly from this tunnel vision
Right.
because we never take the time to step away and look in upon ourselves, which I believe is an important practice, right? For
Hmm.
self awareness. I think that's a big part of becoming self aware, being able to step back and look at yourself from the outside. Until this happens, I think there will always be a struggle, there will always be chaos
Oh yeah.
until we get to that place where we can step away, take a look at ourselves from the outside and see the adjustments that need to be made. It's like working on an art piece or a sculpture
Hmm.
where sometimes you have to step away from it, step back and look at it from a distance. And when you do that, that's when you're able to see errors, mistakes, and
Right.
now you're able to tweak it as you should. When you're up on it and you're in it, a lot of times you could miss details. So it's the same thing with your life.
Right.
Unplug and just allow yourself to make changes, necessary changes and adjustments to help
Absolutely.
you to continue to move forward.
Oh yeah, man. So like when we talking about those type of things, making certain types of judgments, we're talking about non-judgmental awareness.
Right.
So we can go on non-judgmental awareness, and we're going through certain practices as being an observer too. And I just want to let you know that too, so
Yeah.
we getting the same information here. So um, non-judgmental awareness is practice noticing what is without labeling it as good or bad. So, for example, instead of thinking I am a failure, observe I am having a thought that I'm a failure. This creates mental distance from the thought's emotional charge. So you actually deflect the charge of actually having the thought that you're a failure instead of having that thought in the present that you're a failure, you actually are thinking about it and you're taking a step back like, oh wow. So
Mm,
I'm feeling that I'm having a thought that I'm a failure, but I really know who I am and I know that's not really the case. I'm just having the
right.
feeling right now.
Yeah.
Instead of being in the present where you feel the full emotion like push you into actually feeling like a failure and you start to do things like a failure.
And accepting it.
And you're
Yeah.
accepting you making it a part of your daily living. Instead of doing that, you take a step back and you actually look at the circumstances and you see like, oh wow, I actually thought I was a failure for a moment. Like wow, I should never think that way of myself.
Yeah.
You
But
need
you
to be
take
able
the
to deflect the emotional charge to being more positive about yourself to be able to
mm,
move forward.
yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
really good. So non-judgmental awareness.
That's deep. That's deep.
Mhm. That's super deep, man.
That's deep. So you're not allowing the thought to consume you,
Hmm.
but you instead just observe the thought in itself.
Yes.
And that way you're able, I think you are able to put it in its proper perspective type of thing.
Yes. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
You're able to put it in a certain position where you can use it as fuel instead of using it as torment to yourself.
As
Because
in-
you can use it and end up putting
Yeah.
yourself in hell.
Yeah.
Just over that simple thing. You okay? So boom, you got to know at the job this time that you got the job that you really wanted to go for. They
Right.
told you no. Okay, oh well, so bad. We understand things happen, but it's something that you really wanted and you have been pushing for. We get it, but instead of using that and really feeling like you lost it all, because 1,000 people probably got this, 1,000 people probably went for the same job that you went for. You can't think that you a human being is just like everybody else. Those other 1,000 people, those 999 people that did not get that job, you can't say they were better than you, worse than you, in between, those type of things. So you have to think that way. That's what you take. That's when you take a
Right.
step back and you think about all the other things. Like, okay, well, there was 1,000 people that actually applied for this position, so I actually got super close to getting the position. Like I was probably five out of the 1,000 that actually got an interview and was
Right.
able to talk to the head boss and actually get closer to the objective and closer to the goal than anybody else did.
Yeah.
That's being the observer. So now, really, I do have an advantage because something that I did and something that I said or something that was on my resume gave me a one up or gave me an advantage over everyone else. So now I need to identify that advantage and I need to expand on that advantage. I need to amplify the advantage. You
And
know?
again, people, we are talking about, you know, being the observer, becoming the observer, which in another term could be having some objectivity
Hmm.
as opposed to just being one track minded, right? And and I like that example you just used. You go for an interview, you're trying to get a job and you don't get it. Instead of personalizing the experience, right? Because when we personalize the experience, what happens is we start telling ourselves, I'm not good enough,
Right.
they didn't like me,
Hmm.
you know, and we start thinking too much into the experience, right? But when you allow yourself to look at it objectively, you step away, you realize that there are a number of reasons that you didn't get the job that
Yes.
possibly has nothing to do with you,
Exactly. It has nothing to
right?
do with even
It has
even
nothing to do with you.
you
Don't
being a person
personalize
in
it.
general, right? It probably was
Don't
it was probably
personalize
something
it.
totally out of your control.
Exactly. It's
You
the
know?
same thing that happens when we get treated bad by someone. And this one is a big one because this one I think creates a lot of trauma from childhood into adulthood,
Right.
which is when people do things to us, right? As human beings, for some reason, we tend to personalize it. And when we do that, what happens is we start feeling guilt and we
Right.
start blaming ourselves because we start feeling like it's something about me. Why
Mm-hmm.
this person did that to me, lied to me, or stole something from me, or stabbed me in the back,
Yeah.
or right, or whatever the issue might be. But what has to happen is we have to realize that when we have these negative experiences with people, most times it's about them and not us because we don't realize that they'll do the same thing to anybody in their lives,
Mm-hmm.
right? They'll do that to you, leave you, go down the street and do it to someone else.
Yep.
So they're the common denominator, right? So the issue a lot of times that we face with people is not about us, and we have to stop making it about ourselves because that's where the harm comes in, that's where the
Mm-hmm.
trauma comes in,
Right.
right? So we have to separate ourselves from the experience, and when we do that and we realize, look, hey, you know what this person just did, that's about them, not me. They have
Right.
to deal with that,
Hmm.
right? We create instant healing. You know what I'm saying? That's
Yep.
instantaneous healing. Separate yourself from the experience,
Yep.
right? You take yourself off the hook. I'm off the hook. I don't have to walk around with guilt, with anger, right? And bad energy, because
Right.
that's all that happens when we
Yep.
when we personalize the experiences. Now we stuck with this bad energy, and it's just bad energy moving forward.
Right. So you have to what observe your triggers. So
Exactly.
that's a good example of observing your triggers. And we're going into
Exactly.
another one here. So this is something that's very important. So you observing your triggers is becoming aware of the people, places, or situations that trigger automatic reactions. So by observing the initial impulse to react, you create a space to choose a different response. So just like my brother just said, you're creating a different space by observing your certain situations and the places that you're in, the people that
Yep.
you're around, and then yourself in that situation. So when you do that, you're able to react differently instead of reacting
Right.
off of impulse. Because
Right.
impulse reaction ultimately at times normally is not the best reaction in the first place, because normally what we all say, take a step back and think, right? Always take a step back, or at least give yourself a minute to think about your reaction, because a lot of times our first reaction is initially off of emotions.
Yeah.
So you don't ever want to think off of strictly emotions. You want to think off of intellect and spirituality, wholeness. You want to think about those things in that aspect. You don't want to think about it in an emotional impulse where you immediately act on the first thing that you feel, you know?
Yeah.
And and that's when you observe yourself. You observe the triggers that come around, but then you know thyself by observing your triggers.
Right.
And by knowing thyself, you're able to understand other people's triggers when they come around you too, because now that you understand yours, you can see it when it happens on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You know,
You're able
so
to
that's a
observe.
good thing.
Yeah.
Right here is a sensory observation. So being able to expand your awareness to your five senses. Of course, you hear, taste, touch, smell. These types of things. Basically, if you notice what you see, you hear, you smell, you taste, and feel, approaching each sensation with curiosity as if you were experiencing it for the first time. These things give you an observation to be able to be in the present.
Yeah.
So present observation lets you be able to take that step back.
Right.
So when you observe your triggers, you're feeling the senses. You're feeling certain things that you know automatically don't feel right to you. You know, your heart might beat a little bit faster than normal. Your
Mm-hmm.
fingers is tingling. Your feet are tingling, or something is shifting in you. You're getting a little bit hotter than normal. These types of things are triggers. I know it from
Right.
experience. Like we
Yeah.
we are not no different than nobody else. I learned these things from experience. I've had anxiety. I've had all these things. Um, a lot of the times, people don't understand when you hear certain things, or you know people don't vibe the same way that you vibe, or don't feel the
Mm-hmm.
same way that you feel. Something in you changes. Something in you either gets stirred up, or the heart gets to pumping a little bit more, or these types of things. Just depending on the type of person that you are, you may react a little bit differently. But like for somebody like
Right.
me, I feel things. I have a sensory thing where I can literally feel all of everything almost. Like I can feel how you feel. I can kind of determine the way that you may feel in the present or in the future.
Almost almost
You
like
know,
an intuition.
right?
Yeah.
So, and these things are kind of triggering me. because I got to deal with it, you know?
Yes.
So the fact that I know I got to deal with it, it automatically flares me up, you know? So I have to calm myself down and take a step back and then kind of give myself more of the understanding that I'm in a position right now where everything is in my control right now. I do not allow negativity to be able to come out my state. I only retain positivity, and that's what I act on. So that is the way that I create my sense of observation and my sense of awareness by being able to understand that I'm having a reaction right now off of something that I know somebody else is feeling, or the fact that I know that person might eventually end up going that route, but I'm going to take it in the state for right now where I'm in the present and I control this. I control everything around me, because if I allow that one thing to get me right now, it could eventually change the whole momentum in my whole day. Everything that's going around might end up creating something with an attitude or a negative charge. These type of things could immediately shift just by the way you think and by the way
Yeah.
you react to them. And some people might not even be that type of way sometimes. And you just feel that way because now you locked in on this negative emotion, this negative reaction.
Yeah. I I learned uh, this concept a few years ago. I read a book. I want to say, I think it's The Road Less Traveled, I think. And what the guy was saying is, whenever you're approaching a new situation, right? It's a really, really clever concept. He
Hmm.
was saying, try to use a double movement of your attention. You have an argument with someone, right? Don't just you're arguing with someone, don't just be up in the person's face talking, thinking that it's all good, right? This
Right.
person, this person is just gonna keep listening to me run my mouth, vice versa. Don't think that that's what's gonna happen. You
Exactly.
have to also think that this person might sucker punch me, right?
Right. You got to
So,
keep those options open.
right, keep those options open too. So it's a double movement of your attention. But you
Hmm.
see people make this mistake all the time where they approach things with a one-sided movement of their attention,
The emotional
right?
reaction,
You arguing with somebody, you up in their face, and then bam, next thing you know, you're on the ground.
something they didn't
Because
expect.
Right, because you didn't use a double movement of your attention,
Right.
right?
You
What
didn't
the
take
double
the
movement
steps.
does is, okay, I'm arguing with you, but I'm gonna stay an arm's length away from you, right?
Hmm.
Because I'm using a double movement of my attention. You may punch me, you may not, but I'm keeping myself safe for whichever one happens.
Preparation. Hmm.
Preparation, right? So don't be one track minded. That's really the point I'm trying to make with this long explanation. Don't be
Right.
one
But
track
one track
minded, which
minded.
is a trap people fall into too often,
Right. But if you're
right?
observing yourself, right, if you're observing yourself, you don't allow yourself to be one track minded because you already facilitated the emotions that's going on. You facilitated the emotions going on with the person that's in the opposition, and
Right,
now you're actually able to create that space because, like you just said, so now I'm weighing both situations out. He could possibly hit me. He may not, and we're both arguing. We're both debating about something that we both don't that we have a pro and con about. So we're gonna keep that distance. We're gonna keep that distance. But then now we have a situation where we are prepared. But if you're going
right,
into a situation where you're a rah type of person and you're literally in all on rage and emotion, and you thinking your words are going to be able to stem on somebody, or you thinking that your emotion and your rage is higher than somebody else's, then you need to humble yourself because you never understand what somebody else may be going through, or what they've been through, or what they've done. These types of things you have to come bringing into account because a lot of people have done other things than you may realize, right?
Right.
So we have to take these types of things into account. But that's when you observe yourself, you observe your surroundings, you pay more attention about what's going on, and that way you're able to reevaluate the situation,
Exactly.
have a better reaction,
Exactly.
and that's the way that you're going to be able to preserve yourself, preserve your family, and the thing, like I said, when things happen that may be even out of your control, if you become the observer, you're able to take a step back and be able to assess the situation better than someone else
Right.
may be able to.